She left this in your apron. You didn't even throw it away.
I forgot.
You forgot a woman's lipstick in your—
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
What happens when you tell your husband in front of everyone that your best friend means more to you than your marriage? The champagne bubbles caught the restaurant's amber lighting as I raised my glass, surveying the faces around our private dining table. Nathan sat beside me, his hand resting on mine, while our families and closest friends celebrated our engagement. Everything was perfect, exactly as I'd planned it. I have an announcement, I said, standing gracefully. The conversations died down as all eyes turned to me. I want everyone to meet someone very special. Julian appeared from the bar area right on cue, his photographer's eye catching the perfect moment to make his entrance. Tall, confident, with that easy smile that had charmed me years ago, he approached our table carrying a bouquet of white roses. "This is Julian Marrow," I continued, my voice warm with affection. "My dearest friend and former boyfriend. Julian, meet everyone." The silence stretched uncomfortably. Nathan's hand went rigid under mine. "Eveline," Nathan whispered, "what is this?" "Julian's been such an important part of my life," I explained to the table, ignoring Nathan's tension. "We dated for 3 years, but we've maintained this beautiful friendship. I believe that when you truly love someone, that connection transcends romantic labels." Julian stepped forward with his characteristic confidence. "Thank you, Eve. You've always been my muse." He handed me the roses, his fingers lingering on mine just a moment too long. Nathan's mother, Maggie, looked like she'd swallowed something bitter. My mother, Clara, beamed with pride. "How modern and mature," Clara gushed. "Eveline has always been so emotionally evolved." "This is," Maggie started, then stopped herself. "Uncomfortable?" I finished for her, laughing lightly. "Only if we make it so. Julian and I have moved past any awkwardness. We're adults." Nathan pulled his hand away from mine. "Eveline, can we talk privately?" "There's nothing to hide," I said firmly. "Julian, please sit down. I saved you a seat." The seat I'd arranged was directly across from Nathan. As Julian settled in, he raised his own glass. "To Eveline," Julian said, his voice carrying easily across the table. "The woman who taught me that love isn't about possession, but about celebrating someone's authentic self." "You're glowing tonight, beautiful." The color drained from Nathan's face. His brother Oliver shifted uncomfortably, while Maggie's expression hardened. "That's quite a toast," Oliver said carefully, "for a friend." "The best friendships are built on deep understanding," Julian replied smoothly. "Eve and I share something that transcends conventional boundaries." I felt a thrill at his words, at the way he understood me so completely. Exactly. This is what emotional maturity looks like. Nathan stood abruptly. "I need some air." "Nathan's just adjusting," I told the table as he walked away. "He's learning to embrace a more open approach to relationships." But when I looked around, I saw doubt creeping into faces that had been celebrating moments before. Lacey, my bridesmaid, looked troubled. Even my father, Alan, was frowning. The evening continued, but the joy had leaked out of it like air from a punctured balloon. 3 days later, I sat in my parents' kitchen, still riding the high of what I considered my brave stand for authenticity. "I've been thinking," I announced to my mother as she prepared her famous lemon bars, "about the wedding ceremony." "Oh." Claire's eyes lit up with interest. "I want Julian to walk me down the aisle." The mixing bowl slipped from my mother's hands, clattering into the sink. "Eveline," my father said from behind his newspaper, "that might be taking things too far." "It's symbolic, Dad. Julian represents my journey, my growth as a person. He knew me before Nathan, and now he's blessing this new chapter." Claire recovered quickly, her face brightening. "It's unconventional, but it shows such confidence in your choices." "Nathan won't like it," Alan warned quietly. "Nathan needs to trust me," I said firmly. "If he can't handle my friendship with Julian, how can he handle marriage?" When I told Nathan that evening, his reaction was quieter than I'd expected, and somehow more unsettling. "You want your ex-boyfriend to walk you down the aisle," he repeated slowly. "My friend Julian, yes. It represents—" "I know what it represents, Eveline." Nathan's voice was flat, emotionless. "Do you need me at this wedding at all?" "Don't be dramatic." "I'm asking seriously. Do you need me there?" I laughed, but it sounded forced even to me. "You're being ridiculous." Nathan nodded slowly and walked to our bedroom without another word. The dinner at Nathan's family home was supposed to smooth things over. Instead, it became the moment everything truly fell apart.
Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
Julian will be walking me down the aisle, I announced, over Maggie's pot roast, deciding to address the elephant in the room directly. The fork slipped from Oliver's hand, clattering against his plate. "Excuse me?" Maggie's voice was barely controlled. "It's a beautiful symbol of how we can honor our past while embracing our future," I explained patiently. "You want your ex-boyfriend to give you away to my son?" Maggie's face was flushed. "I want my dear friend to participate in my joy," I corrected. "This is what modern love looks like, Maggie. It's about trust and openness." "This is humiliation," Maggie said quietly. "Public humiliation of my son." "Only if you choose to see it that way," I replied. "Nathan understands." All eyes turned to Nathan, who had been silent throughout the meal. "Nathan?" Oliver prompted. Nathan looked up from his untouched plate. "She doesn't need me," he said simply. "She's made that clear." "That's not what I said," I protested. "You don't need to say it, Eveline. Your actions are loud enough." The drive home was silent. Nathan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, but he didn't speak. When we reached our apartment, he went straight to his computer and began typing. I told myself I'd won. I'd stood my ground and maintained my principles. But something cold was settling in my stomach. The rehearsal dinner was a disaster masked as celebration. Julian gave another toast, calling me his forever muse and referencing our unbreakable connection. Nathan walked out halfway through. Social media exploded overnight. Videos of Julian's toasts, photos of Nathan's strained expressions, whispered conversations among guests. It all went viral in our social circle. My phone buzzed constantly with messages. "Girl, what are you doing? This is messy. Nathan looks miserable." I crafted careful responses, posting curated photos with captions about mature love and breaking boundaries. But for every supportive comment from my mother's friends, there were 3 questioning my judgment. Nathan stopped coming home. He was staying at Oliver's, according to a terse text message. Then the vendors started calling. "Mrs. Dorr, this is Elegant Events. We received a cancellation request for your wedding. But we need both parties to confirm." "I didn't cancel anything," I said sharply. "The request came from Mr. Cole with proper documentation. He's requesting a full refund." My hands shook as I hung up. The florist called next, then the caterer, then the band. Nathan was dismantling our wedding piece by piece, and he was doing it legally, methodically, without drama or confrontation. When I tried to call him, my calls went straight to voicemail. When I showed up at his office, security informed me that Nathan had requested no visitors. The courier arrived on a Tuesday morning with an envelope marked "Urgent, Signature Required." Inside were documents that took my breath away. A formal notice of engagement termination, receipts showing full refunds for all wedding expenses, a statement closing our joint accounts, a brief letter from Nathan's attorney explaining that all shared assets had been divided according to pre-engagement agreements I'd forgotten I'd signed. And at the bottom, my engagement ring in its original box with a note, "Refund processed." I called Nathan's number 1 last time. This time, instead of voicemail, I got a message. "This number has been disconnected." Julian, when I reached out desperately, was suddenly unavailable. His responses became shorter, less frequent. The drama that had seemed so exciting to him was no longer entertaining now that there were real consequences. Even Lacey, my loyal bridesmaid, began distancing herself. "Eve, I love you, but this whole thing, it's just too much drama for me right now." My mother raged about Nathan's weakness, but my father was quiet, resigned. "You pushed a good man too far," he said finally. "Some things can't be undone." I stared at the returned ring, its diamond catching the afternoon light. Nathan had disappeared completely. No social media posts about me, no angry messages, no attempts at reconciliation or revenge. He'd simply erased me. The realization hit like ice water. I'd gambled everything on the assumption that Nathan would always be there, would always forgive, would always choose me over his own dignity. I'd been wrong. In trying to prove I didn't need him, I'd convinced him he didn't need me either. And unlike my dramatic gestures and public declarations, Nathan's quiet exit was final, complete, and legally airtight. I was left holding the ring of a marriage that would never happen, to a man who had walked away with such thorough dignity that I couldn't even blame him for it. The silence of my phone, the empty space where our future used to be, the complete absence of Nathan from my life. This was my reward for choosing Julian over us. Nathan had given me exactly what I'd asked for, a life without him in it.